Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the latest monologue. Today, the subject is academia. Those people who bestride our society, flashing their qualifications in front of everyone, and usually intimidating a lot of us lay people. Today, I'm calling out Kenyan academics. Kenyan academia is teetering somewhere between the point of being a group of completely lost sheep and being a group of absolute scoundrels. This is a group of people who are currently not contributing even 20% of what we have the potential to contribute to our society in the various fields of specialization. I'll talk a bit about conservation because that's the field I come from. I've called out the ills in conservation for a long time. But as of today, I can tell you I am the only one conservation scientist in Kenya who will speak up about this, because all the others are acting as technicians or field assistants for Western conservation interests. And this is a problem. If you go to the health sector, we have our health scientists acting as technicians for Western health interests, big pharma, etc., drug testing. They are not contributing intellectually to the field. Get to education. Our educationists are acting as technicians and assistants for implementing Western education experiments, as in like the CBC education system. You can remember our former cabinet secretary for education was a full professor, but what we saw him doing every day on TV was more like what we expect a technician or inspector of schools to be doing. Now this hurts our country. Our economy right now is on the ropes. We have a highly qualified economic guru very close to the center of government, Oxford educated. But all I see from him is rhetoric and insults on social media to people who might be complaining about the economic situation. Never, so far, he may have made some intellectual contributions, but I haven't seen them. And they should be a lot more visible, especially given his position. But this is not a problem unique to him. It comes to the core of our most visible quality as a society. The most visible and powerful quality of Kenya as a society today is our dishonesty. A friend of mine, Jerome Ogola, says that at room temperature, a Kenyan is a conman or dishonest in some way. And he said it in a light vein, but he's not far from the truth. Why can't we embrace our capabilities and harness them for the betterment of ourselves and our society? Why is it that we get our qualifications and use them to assist someone else? When are we going to contribute to our society? And if we look at, I'll come back to conservation science, which is the field where I'm in. Obviously, there have been these problems in conservation practice for many years, and I've spoken about them. So I get invited to speak at various forums and universities around the world about it. But one unique thing is the manner in which European universities, particularly those in the UK, are seeking to appropriate and own the narrative of needing to change conservation. And it first came to light a few years ago when the Oxford University, actually the World Carnivore Research Unit, actually convened a group of scholars to write a paper about the problem of lack of diversity in carnivore researchers in Africa. So I was invited to that group. So I worked, did my research, gave my contribution from my research and my personal experiences, and instantly the lead author flagged up what I had written and said, we can't accept this because, well, amongst the things he said, it is quote-unquote non-academic, it is not written in academic style, it is not a non-academic contribution, etc., etc. And after the work I done, I made a decision there, and then I told him, just delete. I'm not going to edit any of it. Just delete it all and remove my name from the list of authors. So they deleted my contribution as per my request. But when I saw the first draft, it still had my name as an author. And then I told them, delete my name as an author. So they did that. I saw another draft, it had my name on the acknowledgements. And I told them, I don't want my name anywhere on that paper. That's when I realized that these people just needed me as a blackwash to give that paper credibility. But they didn't want to hear my views. And that's the essence of conservation colonialism. And Oxford is the sanctum sanctorum of this. And feel free to quote me on that. So this brought to my mind that what I've been saying and doing is so far out of the ordinary, even though it is so obvious. Black African conservation scientists are expected to work as technicians for foreign conservation interests, some of whom are not even as qualified as us. And 99.9% of them perform that duty. I hope to one day meet a Kenyan conservation scientist who doesn't do that duty. As far as of today, the only one I know is me. And I hope to be corrected on this one day. But we must think for ourselves. These are our captors in terms of conservation. Conservation is completely captive of the West. Certainly in Kenya, it is completely captive of the West. It is what the West wants, what tourists want, what any European wants. And we need to escape this. Now that we are trying to escape it, we already have European universities seeking to own that narrative of liberation. How can the captor own the narrative of liberation? And this is shown by the arrogance with which particularly British universities treat African conservation scholars. As I said, I do get invited to give talks, and often it's some student who writes me a note and writes to me like I'm his peer, and thinks he can engage me at that level to give them a talk and offer them my ideas. And the reason they do this is because they don't want to read the papers you've published. Because when they read the papers or books you've published, it means they have to quote you. But if we have a conversation, he can present my ideas as his own. Now, I recently got an invitation from a student at the University of Sheffield a couple of weeks ago. And I said, no, I don't do this. I need a formal, structured engagement from the university. So then 2 staff members wrote to me saying they want me to give a lunchtime talk about my 20-something years of experience in the field and ideas on wildlife policy. And I said, no, the work I've done cannot fit into a lunchtime talk. And I'm certainly not willing to condense it into a portion that small. So let's do a proper academic engagement, visiting scholar engagement, possibly supervising of students, and giving lectures in a class setting, in a course class setting. So after a few days, they wrote back to me like, we understand your concerns, so we are now going to offer you £50 for your talk. Yes, £50. I won't go into the details, but I'll put up the email chain on my blog, and those of you interested can visit it. I put the link in the comments. But this shows how desperate Western academia is becoming for natural resource knowledge from Africa. But the thing is that it's desperation that's mixed to a toxic mix of desperation and arrogance. They want the knowledge, but they are too arrogant to engage, to formally and properly engage, respectfully engage those who have the knowledge, or those who might be able to point them in the right direction. So we must resist this kind of thing. So this is, calling out academia like this should be a normal thing. But sadly, because of our subservience to the West, it seems like an act of insurgency. Even when I protest to someone, when I write I protest to some of these people who approach me in this disrespectful manner. They're genuinely shocked because they come here and vice chancellors, senior professors, ministers, anybody, senior people in our society, all do what they say unquestioningly. At COP28, you see these conservation organizations, they summon our presidents and cabinets to side meetings away from the plenary where heads of state are talking. I have photos from COP26 in Glasgow, former President Uhuru Kenyatta with 6 members of the cabinet in a side room somewhere, sitting on plastic chairs, listening to some organization called Space for Giants. These things are there, done in the public domain. We must do better. And the way we do better is that members of the public, those of you those in authority, or those technically qualified, referred to as laymen, start questioning things. Never say I'm not an expert. When something's wrong, we have to call it out. Even this monologue I've given, if there's anything someone feels did not have any basis, in fact, I welcome someone to call that out, because that is what people have to do. That's how societies grow. But Kenya, it's imperial. We are the perfect stooges of imperialism. Because someone has a PhD, what he says should go, regardless what he's saying. Because someone is senior, the civil service, etc., a civil servant can order you anything about, can order you on anything about conservation, biology, mechanics, health, diet, anything, because he's the county commissioner or because he's the DO or whoever. We have to question things. This is how societies grow. And this is why Kenya is stunted, because we are sitting waiting for instructions from somewhere. We need something to slavishly follow. And once we get something, someone tells us go this way, we fight and push each other down, trying to show how good we are at following. And the one who can follow best is called the most competent. He's called a performer. And he's called an example to the others. No, the example is the one who tells you something, that makes you think. And I think if we follow that, we will sort out a lot of things in education, agriculture, security, and whatever other field that can contribute to the growth of our society. Let's think about that. And especially for those in conservation, we need to wake up. We can't be technicians forever. One day we'll have to wake up.